Story time on how my brother and I got caught, doing the dirty. And also, we are married now. So before we start, I just wanted to say, we don't have the same dad. We just have the same mom. And we honestly don't see anything wrong about it. But let's start. So like I said, he's only my half brother. And we were really, really close all the time. He's my older brother. And he was always very protective. We didn't really fall in love until 3 years ago. And also, we are from Europe. So the day we got caught, doing the dirty, we were home alone. And like I said, we were always close. So that day we were just hanging out, watching a movie on the couch. And he started to play around, flicking my ear. And then he pulled my hair. And we just started playing around. And I accidentally tripped. And my nose was bleeding. He was really scared. So he said, let's go take... Okay, so this is part 2 on how my brother and I got caught, doing the dirty. So like I said, he said, let's go take care of that before our parents get home because he was really, really scared. So we went up to the bathroom and, he was taking care of me. And all of a sudden, he kisses me. And yes, I kissed him back because I always had a little crush on him, but I didn't think it would get to that point. So we started kissing and then it started getting really hot. And yes, we did it like twice. But the second time my parents got home, we didn't hear them, but they did hear us. And my mom walked in and saw me butt naked on top of my brother. Long story short, he got sent away with his dad. Our parents were so upset and they couldn't even look at me. We got back in touch and we confessed our love for each other. We got married about 1.5 years ago. We moved to the United States to be away from our family. We live in Florida, ready to start our own family. So I got pregnant by my coworker's husband. So I guess story time. So we both worked at an adult store, but they were 2 stores side by side. Her store closed at 10, mine at midnight. And her husband would come over to my store while he waited for her to close up. And we would just chat. And that's it. So one night I messaged him just to ask him something about her birthday that was coming up. And one thing led to another. And I sent him a naughty picture. And we started messaging often. One thing led to another. We ended up hooking up. We would hook up while she was at work. I even went home sick once, so she would have to cover for me, just so I could be with him. He had never cheated, and I had never done something like this. But we just had a spark. The sex turned into love. I thought I couldn't have babies, so we never used protection. This went on for 1 year, and she started noticing. Come back for part 2. Okay, so this is part 2 on how I got pregnant by my coworker's husband. So like I said, she started noticing that him and I had an attraction. So she started saying how it was so cute that him and I were close like brother and sister. Her and I got close and she would always want me to go over for dinner. And they would also take me shopping. It was kind of weird, but I got to spend time with him. It was a secret, but one night I was drunk and I told a close friend. The following year, that close friend messaged my coworker on her birthday and tells her everything. At first, she didn't believe it, and we were okay for a little while, but one night she messaged me and told me she knew everything. He must have gave in and told her, even though we agreed we would never admit to it. A month later, I found out I was pregnant. I told him, and long story short, they moved because he got deployed, and she changed all their information. And now I have a 3-year-old he's never seen.
Storytime of how my entire virtual online class found out that I was pregnant and one of them ended up telling my mom. So due to COVID where I live, there is no in-person school, so everybody is virtual. So I was in my first block and you only have to turn on your cameras for when she does attendance and then when you're talking. So I was called on and I had to answer a question, so I unmuted myself and I turned on my camera. And then when I was done, I turned off my camera and I think I forgot to mute myself back. After that, during that week, I was already having a pregnancy scare, so I FaceTimed my boyfriend and I went to go take a pregnancy test. Mind you, I don't really listen in class to begin with, so I turned the volume all the way back down because when the teacher calls on you once, she doesn't call on you again. So again, I couldn't hear anything happening in the classroom. So I was on the phone with my boyfriend, I was freaking out while I was taking a pregnancy test, and it ended up coming back positive. So I started freaking out and I started bawling my eyes out, and in my room I was screaming, I'm pregnant, what am I gonna do? I look back over and the session had ended, and everyone in that class is texting me like, oh my god, are you okay? I'm here for you, blah, 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 blah. So of course I start to freak out. I'm running out of time like for part 2. Part 2 of how my whole entire online class found out that I was pregnant and one of them told my mom. So continuing with the story, I texted a couple of them back and I was like, how did you know? And they were like, we heard you sobbing in the background screaming, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant. Then one of them goes, we heard some guy in the background screaming, just get a hanger, and you were screaming, no! Then one of them comes to tell me that the teacher had to start a brand new class because I wouldn't mute myself. So then I emailed my teacher and I told her that I was going through a really hard time and I really do apologize. And then she explained to me that everything was fine, like she understands things happen. So we were all good until like 3 days later. And my mom calls me telling me that somebody in my class had told her that I am pregnant. And I tried telling her like, no, like that is not true. That is not true whatsoever. And then she sends me a recording that somebody else sent her of me in my room bawling my eyes out screaming, I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do. So somebody in my class was a big old snitch and sent a recording of me screaming I'm pregnant to my mom. And my mom is trying to force me to get an abortion, but I don't want to. To sum it up, I'm moving in with my grandma because she's super, super supportive. And in 3 months, I'll be having a baby boy. Story time of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody believed me. So my mom got with my stepdad when I was 5 years old, and all of the sexual assaulting started around 6. It went from the little things as of just saying dirty jokes to me, all the way to actually sexually assaulting me. One of the little things that he did is he would hide all of my underwear, then tell me I can't wear the dirty underwear that I had on, so I would have to go without wearing underwear, then he'd force me to wear a dress, so it's easier for him to touch me in all the wrong places. And he would always bribe me to sit on his lap by letting me fake drive the car. He would literally sit in my bed while my mom was at work and force me to watch adult videos, and would force my hand in places that it shouldn't go. He has done so much more things to me, but I don't really want to go in detail with everything else. And then one day he told me that if I ever told anybody about this, that I would be in very big trouble and my life and my mom's life would be at risk. And at such a young age, I didn't know what to do, so of course I kept everything to myself. And then things just got a lot worse. I'm running out of time for a part 2. Part 2 of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody did anything about it. Continuing with the story, he started getting more comfortable with doing more and more things to me. It continued for years and years and years. I started to try to stand up for myself, but it never worked. It always would end up just making the situation worse, and he would harm me in spots that my mom isn't gonna check. And again, I was told that if I told anybody, then my life would be at risk, and so would my mom's. And again, I was also younger, so I didn't really know what to do. But then finally came a day where I had enough, and I went to go tell my mom. She told me that I was insane and didn't believe me whatsoever. I went to go try to tell my grandma, my grandpa, my aunt, my uncle, and my brothers, and none of them believed me. None of them believed me until 6 years later. I am now 17, and because my mom was so blindsided by this boy that she didn't believe what was happening in her own household, it caused me to have many scars, very disturbing, traumatizing experiences. Also wish me luck because in exactly 2 weeks from today, I'll be seeing this guy. Story time of how my boyfriend ended up being my stepdad. So I was dating this kid, and me and this kid had like the best relationship. He was 19 and I was 17, and I mean we were literally always together. And my mom would always call him hot and stuff like that, but I thought that's just what moms do, and I didn't think of it in that type of way. So one day my boyfriend got mad at me, and he was like, I'm gonna F your mom, become your stepdad, and boss you around if you keep up that attitude. And I mean, who would think that he's gonna actually try to do that? And I said, I would like to see you try. But again, we were just in a little argument, so about a month or 2 goes on, and I find messages from my boyfriend to my mom and vice versa. They were sexting, and I saw things I did not want to see from my mother. So I went to go confront both of them, and I confronted my mom first, and she wouldn't tell me nothing, she just told me to get out of her face. Oh, but my boyfriend told me they have been hooking up. But he told me I was overreacting because it's just my mom. Oh, just wait till you find out what happens next. I'm running out of time for part 2. Part 2 and how my boyfriend became my stepdad. So continuing on with the story, I told him that he was disgusting, and then I just ended our relationship. And at first he wouldn't let me break up with him, but then finally we were just both okay, this is not gonna work out. So about 2 days later, I come home and I see him at my house, and I'm like, dude, we're not getting back together, so don't try, you're weird. And he has the audacity to go, I'm not here for you, I'm here for your mother. And at that point I was like, I'm moving out. And that night I heard some noises that I didn't want to hear. And then my mom ended up getting pregnant again. She's only 34, I think, but he's 19. So the age gap isn't really that big of a difference. But it's the point that my boyfriend decided to F my mom, get her pregnant, and now I don't even know how I'm related to this child. Yeah, so now my mom's pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's child. I mean, I'm so nice to the kid because it's my step-sibling's dad. But at the same time, I secretly want to, inject him out of the game. In the game, I want to inject him out of his life, so, yeah.
So there's this customer that comes into my store probably once or twice a week. He works with a program called Instacart. He basically buys people's groceries for them so they don't have to leave the house, and he delivers them to them. So we're having a conversation on my register one day, and he made a gross sexual comment. It gave me very much pedophile vibes, and I was like, relax. And he was like, oh, no, like, I'm just joking. I joke with all the girls here like that. I don't know if it's because I watch too much TV, but that shit didn't sound right. My spidey senses tingling off the charts. I was like, this dude is a fucking weirdo. If you're a rewards member at my store, your name comes up on my computer screen when you type in your phone number. So being that the sex offender database is public information, I went out on a limb here, and what naturally occurred to me in my big old badonga was to look up his name. And what happened when I looked up his name? Sex offender. Yeah. How's he an Instacart worker?
Something fun. When you're in a long-term relationship, you'll often find yourself doing this thing with your partner where you'll say, when we have kids, I hope they have this trait of yours. And today my husband was like, I hope our kids will be as resilient and determined as you. When I was 11 years old, I got in a fight with my mum when she was picking me up from school, and I was being so rude that she wanted to teach me a lesson and scare me a little bit. So she said, you can find your own way home. Left me outside of my classroom, got in her car and drove off. Now, realistically, she was just doing the block and was going to come back and pick me up, hoping that I would be apologetic. But I wasn't. I was very stubborn and was like, I can find my own way home. And I decided to run home. I, in fact, sprinted from the school grounds and ran into a close family friend who offered to give me a lift, which I accepted, and I got home by my own means. Now, my mum did do the block and not only came back to me not being where she left me, but to one of my friends saying, yeah, I saw her get in the car with some weird guy. Imagining my mum's soul leaving her body that day is enough for me to not ever want kids, let alone kids like me.
No, because I actually seriously don't get what the government expected to happen when they put us in a 4-week lockdown right before a holiday and then unlocked us conveniently right on it so we could all go shopping. And then they're like, oh, I don't really know why, guys, but there's actually a surge in cases. Yeah, because you locked us in our fucking houses and then you let us out again. What are you doing? Like, I just don't get it. They really only let us out so that they could boost the economy because they wanted more money. And everyone's turning against each other because the government are just fucking messing people about. I wouldn't be surprised if the next tier is tier 10. You're strapped to your bed and you're being pushed around Tesco's by members of parliament in full PPE. But of course, schools will be open.